Well, and we don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but I want to talk about how before when we were talking, you're talking about like relationships and how that can be hard because a lot of people
Yeah.
see it first off and they're just like, oh, it's cute. They train and they work out a lot, but then when they really get into it, it becomes like, oh, you're like ob- obsessed in a good way, but like you're obsessed with this, like it's your life. So how hard
It
is
is.
that to navigate relation? Because that's why I think a lot of people do end up with other competitors then, or they end up with other people into the lifestyle because
100%.
that's where you're going to be spending most of your time then is in the gym. So might as well find someone there. But how hard is that just to navigate that? And a lot of people just don't understand how dedicated you have to be in the sport.
Yeah, it's really hard. We can talk about it. I don't have any issues talking about quite literally anything. Because it's just a reality of it too. If you've noticed, if you paid attention to women, especially in these larger categories, especially in these larger categories, either A, they are single, they're not with anybody, or they're with some three options with a competitor who's also competing at a high level, or C, they're with somebody who doesn't do this at all and they are just overly supportive of it. I have no issue with that last one at all, and I kind of was warming up to the idea that maybe that was gonna be the reality for me, because that typically seemingly was the only people who would be interested is people who just don't partake in the sport at all, and that did kind of bother me because I think there's a different level of connection, just aside from just a relationship, like, even just on, like, a being a best friend thing, that I just don't think they would understand that part of me to that extent, and I want them to. And like, sure, you can respect it, support it, but they don't understand. They don't understand what it's like. And, it may work for some people. Personally, I would still prefer a partner or whoever I'm with to do this to a high level, just because I think it's a different level of understanding for that person.
You hear that,
And
fellas? That
special.
means get your ass to the gym then.
And I hate to be that person that's like, only with bodybuilders, like
No,
I've dated
you know what you want. It's yeah.
I've and it's not talking smack, like, there's plenty of attractive men who don't do bodybuilding. It's not that I don't find men who don't do bodybuilding attractive,
I
but
mean,
for
look at me for
me,
God's sakes. This is a perfect 10 if I've ever seen one. So, that's to
there's
make
so
your
many
point.
guys who are cute, but, like, that's then what bothers me is I see them as more like, "Oh, he's cute." Like, I don't I don't see him as, like, somebody that I would be, like, a partner with or, like, a couple with. It's more of like, "Oh, like, whatever." Like, I just don't take him seriously,
And like on top
as
of
bad as it sounds.
oh, no, absolutely. And I totally get that. I mean, yeah, women know what they want a lot of times and that's totally fine. It's just like how men know what they want a lot of times and that's fine
Yeah.
too. If everyone hasn't figured it out, my fiance's 6'1". I like tall women. So that's my thing that I like, but not freakishly tall, let's be honest. If they're like 6'8" or something like that, then we're like, okay,
That's pretty rare,
tone
though.
it down. I know, but I'm just saying like whenever so before I got engaged, people would send me like Instagram profiles like girls that are like 6'8", and I'm like, okay, that's like we're
Oh.
approaching like we're approaching like Goliath people here. Like I want to have tall kids, but I don't want to have like 8.5 footers that are just like hitting their head on the top of doors and stuff
Yeah.
like that when they're walking
Well,
in
how
the
tall
room.
are you?
6'2" and 7/8. Like I said, I rounded up to 6'3". But
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it was like you liked women who were literally taller than you,
no,
or if
no,
it
no, no,
was
no, no.
like,
I would do. I'm fine if they're a couple inches taller, but like if you're like I said, like if I'm hugging you and you're like your head is above mine, like
yeah,
that's when it's just like, well, and again, it would be fine. Again, I'm one of those people too. It's your personality too. Like if you have a good personality, you can be.
right.
I wouldn't say 4 feet tall, but like let's be honest. Like come on, people. But like that's that to me is
Yeah.
just. I don't even want to get it, but like that's just yeah. I'd say like a minimum, like if you're 5 feet, that's on it. Because like I've said, some of the nicest people I've ever met, aren't the people that like I specifically like. But then if you really get to know them and you're like, hey, you're a great person. That's some of the relationships that I've had.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, and it's important that people just find what they want to because so many times people get into stuff without getting what they really want and then it doesn't end up well. So
Yeah.
everyone just admit
That's what I'm
that
saying.
like what you
I'm
like
trying
and
to
try to find it.
trying to cut some corners and save some people some time because at the end of the day, I know that's what I want, and so I think I'm still just going to hold out for it. And on the bright side, so I sound less like a picky girl. They can be really short. We can be the same height and it does not matter because think about it here. Reality of bodybuilding, the men are short. I'm used to being around short, big, muscular men. It's very natural, very normal to me. I don't look twice about it. If anything, I feel bad if a guy maybe they don't like it and makes me insecure just because of that aspect, like that they wouldn't like that we're similar in height. But I don't care as long as you're like not horizontally challenged. Like we're good.
I I mean, I've only been to a handful of shows because I'm the tallest guy in the room by far, and it's just hilarious to me. We're
Oh
like,
yeah.
I meet some of the guests in person, I was like, I could literally dribble you like a basketball if I wanted to.
Yeah, they
Like,
are. They're short and
yeah.
stocky. And you know what? I love that. They're like just little cinder blocks.
That's why I've always said that the two types of people that I have a soft spot for on this particular podcast are the older guests because of how hard it takes just to get in shape and do all that. If you're like 50
Yeah.
plus, I have a spot, and the 6 footers. If you're 6 feet tall, I have a soft spot in my heart for you because I know how hard it is to put on muscle when you're
Yeah.
much taller. It's a lot longer
It's not a
and
tall
everything.
man's game.
Oh yeah, that's why I will support anyone that has is height challenge, I should say, in that regard at least, where you have to
Yeah,
you gotta
they're vertically challenged, and that's okay. I still love them, and they can come my way because because I don't
Your
care.
DMs are going to be flooded by all the wrong people from this. I'm just going to let you know ahead of time. It's not going to be
Every
one. Well, speaking of it, I mean, there is a shady side to the sport. How have
oh
you
yeah,
managed that? Because I one night I discovered it, and I almost wanted to set my laptop on fire and like bury it out in the woods somewhere and stop doing this. But like I've learned that hey, it's a part of the sport and people do it. But like, how have you navigated that? Because like if you get caught into it, I mean, weird stuff can happen, man.
it is, and like I've never been blissfully unaware, especially in the last few years. Like especially because I started following more women's physique, women's bodybuilding girls heavily, just being interested in liking that look. There's no stranger that every one of those, not every one of those, that's a little bit generous. A lot of them have OnlyFans accounts. They are posting stuff that I wouldn't be so keen on doing. Not to talk shade on sex work. Sex work is what it is, and you're dumb to think that back even when this all started, that is how these girls made money. There's porn and sex work and bodybuilding really all hold hands. It all holds hands because sure you get sponsorships and this and that, but it does not pay what people think it pays. It is not like we are, like I live in Kansas City, right? And not like I play for the Kansas City Chiefs and I'm getting paid out like they are. Like it's just not.
I mean, you got the shoulders of a linebacker at least.
Thank you. See, that's a compliment to me. Like, but there's just not money in it like some people think. And so they do like you have to have the time right to eat, train, cook all your a normal 9 to 5 probably ain't cutting it. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna probably get into porn or something so that way you can fuel your lifestyle and also have this free time. Or you have sugar daddies or people muscle worshiping you and giving you money for things. Like I get it.
Man,
I am
we
not
really brought the mood down in this podcast. No, but I
sorry.
know, no, I know, and I
It's the
trust
reality.
me. No one wants to talk about it too. So anytime I have someone that like actually like wants to talk about it, I love it. But and again, I won't ever pressure anyone to talk about it. And if they want to delete it, I
No,
delete it.
it's
But like I understand why you don't want to talk about it because a lot of these women too, they have families, they have kids, and it's like they don't want their kids and people
I ain't
knowing
got
that.
kids and I ain't married and any of that stuff. So guess what? I am a free agent and I feel like also that people just need to talk about it. It's the same with like drug use. I don't know why women are so quiet, especially because more women are I want women to get into this sport. I want women to compete in women's physique, women's bodybuilding. Like all of this stuff about those categories getting taken out of, the pro shows, that all pertains to me now on a personal level. And I want women to see the sport, but I want people to compete in it, but I also want people to know the reality of it. I don't want girls to get into this thinking, oh, yeah, it's just bubblegum and rainbows and, nobody's going to try to ask you for this and that. Like they are. They're going to ask you to wrestle. And they're going to ask you to send pictures. They are going to ask you to do all this stuff. And like I got a little bit of that before, and I'm scared to open the like inbox of like the requests on my thing on Instagram because I just don't want to see it. But
And I was
it's
gonna
the
say
reality.
I love to troll them like that though, because like one of my most famous thumbnails is where we had our arms together like an arm wrestle. We didn't even arm wrestle, but I was like, this is just gonna troll those people and like give them what they want, and
Yeah,
like it's the most popular thing. So like yeah, they want stuff, and
I'm.
again, yeah, I don't frown on people that do it, but I just tell people
I don't either.
I just tell people be aware of it ahead of time because I don't want you to discover it
Yes,
like one night like I did and be like, oh my god, what is humanity? Like what is this
get
stuff?
your bag.
Yeah.
get your bad girlfriend. If that's how you have to make your money and you don't have a problem with it, you don't care about like your internet footprint or anything, like screw it. Do it. Like I don't care. Like and I would never look down on somebody for doing it because like things are expensive
Hey,
and I get it.
I made an OnlyFans for this podcast, but here's the trick. Everything that I published on the YouTube page, I put on the OnlyFans page. Nothing was specific. All it was like behind the scenes stuff. And like I made it only like a couple $100, and then people are still mad at me to this day. And the funny thing is, even on the OnlyFans like thing, I literally said in the description, everything that's on this you can find on YouTube. Like I didn't even hide that
Wow. Well
fact.
then you
And
even told
people,
them.
oh no,
So
exactly. And I told them, and
screw
I
it.
even told them on YouTube too. And it's only like a handful of people, but I love that like people still bought it, even though the moment you see that thing, it's literally says everything on here will be on YouTube. And I deleted it like 3 years ago, but I only did it for like 3 months during COVID. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was. I'm not making fun of those people, but like it's like you guys bought. Like I literally told you guys that this is all, and all it was I published. I think that like a day ahead of time, like everything else on that. So it's just, yeah. I found it's funny like that. But yeah, again, I have nothing against anyone that does that, but like